You want me to put that on my Tudor?
This One's Wife, Class versus Brass. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Camilla Tominey writes in The Telegraph, which provides us with a useful contrast between the Princess of Wales and This One's Wife, and talks about how Team Sussex are full of hate for our elegant Princess of Wales. In Bell Endgame, his second hagiography of Harry and This One's Wife, author, the improbably named plastic-faced Weasley Lickspittle Lieutenant Omid Scobie, variously describes the Princess of Wales as cold, keen, and inscrutable, i.e., all of that is smearing by proxy. Damning the princess with faint praise, he writes, comfortable in her role, willing to bring the requisite smile and elegance to her duties as princess, Kate glides under the radar. He refers to an incident when he saw Kate in fits of giggles and suggests the future queen should reveal more of herself. I always thought this more frank, real side of the sometimes Stepford-like royal wife was something that others should see more of. While I agree the princess should be heard, as well as seen, where has oversharing ever got the royals? Both the King and Diana, the late Princess of Wales, bitterly regretted pouring their hearts out on prime time. Harry and This One's Wife have been forced to row back on some of the more outrageous claims they made in their Oprah Winfrey interview, which has since become a parody of itself. Certain narcissists are prone to oversharing information because of the absence of boundary recognition. A simple example of that is a parental narcissist that deems that it's appropriate to tell their offspring everything that's going on in their lives, particularly when it comes to conflict between that narcissist and the non-narcissist spouse. The parental narcissist wants to share the consequence of doing so, being the fact that it enables them to smear that individual to get indirect control over them by talking about such matters to a child. Often the child is unable to fully comprehend what they're being told. Indeed, it can often put them in a frightening and unpleasant situation. Not, though, of course, that the narcissist cares about that, because they have no emotional empathy. But the parental narcissist will often overshare about things that have happened, things that ought to be kept between adults being shared to a child. They'll often share so that the child is left to parent the parent, which is part of the lack of emotional empathy and the sense of entitlement and absence of accountability exhibited by that parental narcissist. This One's Wife feels compelled to share because her narcissism dictates that she ought to do so. The world needs to know about her supposed troubles, that she is the one that has been bullied, that's been picked on, that has been subjected to racial abuse. She is the one that is sweet and fragrant, and she has been mistreated awfully. And of course, she needs to be able to speak her truth. Given that we don't actually need to know any of this, because much of it's made up, she doesn't adhere to such a principle. Her narcissism simply puts her on send. Everybody needs to know about you, because not only are you magnificent and amazing and truly scintillating, but people need to know what you've suffered, what you've experienced. It's only right. And thus, the outpourings take place. All this has done is serve to diminish them in the eyes of a cringing global public. That South Park episode, featuring a young royal couple who move to a small town in search of privacy, while simultaneously constantly drawing attention to themselves, said it all. Conversely, it is precisely because Kate is not a brash blabbermouth that she remains so endearingly popular. In other words, Kate recognises boundaries. Like the late Queen, she is a reluctant royal. She's an introvert. She's a conflict avoider. She keeps calm and carries on. She's very English, which perhaps goes a long way to explaining why she did not get on with an uninhibited, overconfident American. Well, pausing there, it's got nothing to do with the cultural clash. In some instances, that would be applicable, that there are distinct cultural differences between, in general terms, more reserved people in the United Kingdom and more outgoing people in the United States of America. There are those in the UK that think that those in the States overshare and are too in your face. There are those in the States that think those limeys need to loosen up a bit. It's somewhere probably in the middle, as with most things. Nevertheless, it isn't to do with the actual cultural difference between Kate being English and this one's wife being American, and everything, of course, to do with the fact that this one's wife is a narcissist. That's what's propelled her uninhibited behaviours, where she feels necessary to tell everybody what's on her mind. This is what has propelled the overconfident countenance that she has put forward, because her narcissism dictates, you can go where you want, say what you want, and deal with whoever you like. You are the amazing this one's wife. Scobie suggests that on more recent occasions, Kate has jokingly shivered when this one's wife's name has come up around her. Who can blame her? She has been repeatedly thrown under a bus by her sister-in-law, seemingly for committing the crime of seeing straight through her meaningless word salad and tiresome pursuit of victimhood. Again, it's not the case that Catherine immediately recognised that she was dealing with a narcissist, but what she did realise, aided of course by William and his normal perspective, was that it was word salad for lunch and victimhood for dessert. This is precisely why Bell Endgame will not damage the Princess of Wales in the slightest. The mystique that surrounds Kate, unlike this one's wife, means no attack will stick, because all anyone sees of the princess is her public service. She's full of grace, whereas Team Sussex seems to be full of hate. It's a classic case of class versus brass. Indeed, it is, demonstrating the differences between the two individuals, which of course is cemented by one being empathic and the other being a narcissist. How do people below the line see it? Well, they certainly had plenty to state about this particular article, as there are over 1,800 comments. Lottie Molly writes, the King should remove Harry from any affiliation and participation in Invictus Games. After all, he has the honour of overseeing and organising the event because of his connection with the royal family. He and this one's wife gained worldwide attention during those games. Take that honour away from them. Neither of them should represent Britain. Why should they continue to host Invictus Games? Mark Phillip replies far more succinctly. One has class, the other is a classless tart. Jenny Stewart. Photos of the two say it all. Kate is classy, this one's wife a sloven. Furthermore, there are others that comment. Nina De Pinto, that wonderful interview with Miss Winfrey that has been scrubbed from the internet, say it isn't so. Well put, Camilla. The Princess of Wales carries on while that seething, steaming pile of hate and jealousy and Monty Shit Show remains just that. Andrew Pine should bring back jousting or some sort of combat. Obviously, they wouldn't do it themselves. Instead, they nominate their champions to battle it out on their behalf. To ensure this is completely fair, they cannot bring in any new champions. They must already have them in place. So, this one's wife will be represented by Omid Scobie. Kate will be represented by the Irish Guards. There we are. One way, perhaps, of dealing with it. Robert Lund writes, this one's wife is just a Californian airhead. I think she expected to be on a par with the future Queen of England and threw an almighty strop when that silliness didn't work. But I blame Harry. He should have told her the truth about her ludicrous expectations. He's either a coward or stupid, or both. Many of the comments go back to the racism argument and say that it's entirely appropriate and entirely understandable that people will speculate upon the appearance of a forthcoming baby, showing that generally the public get it and they don't accept what she has to state. It's clear that the attempt to smear the Princess of Wales by this one's wife, by proxy, through Omid Scobie, has largely failed. Yes, the deranged suggers will act upon it by streaking racist, but they're stupid, thick as mince, unable of any objective assessment of evidence. But to the vast majority, people are able to see what it is, and it just reinforces in their mind the gulf between the Princess of Wales. You see, this is the problem that this one's wife has. The more that she screams and smears, the more that she actually ends up enhancing the reputation of the Princess of Wales and diminishing her own. Most people have the measure of this one's wife based upon her behaviour, and rather than recognise that it's her behaviour that drives this assessment of her, she just keeps giving more grist to the mill. She just keeps engaging in more and more behaviour, which just causes people's views to solidify in relation to that. She shows no scope for change because she's incapable of it, and she shows no scope for reining the behaviour in because her narcissism will not let her. I'm HG Tudor. Thank you for listening.